This is our 14th recognition event, and we are delighted to recognize 26 projects today. I think you will see the sustainability projects we are recognizing provide many key insights into the kind of educational, social, and technological strategies needed for challenging times such as these. The awards presentation will be followed by a keynote presentation, Education for Sustainable Development in the Anthropocene, presented virtually by Dr. Charles Hopkins, the UNESCO Chair in Reorienting Education Towards Sustainability at York University. Following lunch, we will also have a musical performance, Songs for Nature, led by Dr. Glenn Suter, who we will also introduce the recently opened Anthropocene exhibit. In a moment, I will ask you to rise for the entrance of His Honor, the Honorable Russ Morasti, Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are situated on Treaty 4 territory, the original lands of the Nahiawak, Anishinaabeg, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and the homeland of the Métis Mischief Nation. First Nations and Métis play a central role in developing sustainable pathways for our province's future. An important part of our RCE recognition event is the participation of an elder at the start of our ceremonies, and it is a great honor for me to invite Elder Lorna Standing Ready to the stage to begin our ceremonies in a good way with a welcome and a prayer.
Tanse, good morning. It's a beautiful day. I've been asked to say a blessing and a prayer. But before I do that, where I was brought up, in the big bush on the Pickard Indian Reserve, we always introduced ourselves to whoever came to join us when we had gatherings like this, meetings, events, functions, whatever you call them. But when people came, we knew who was there. So my name, I've had a few names. Oh, I'm lucky. I was born Kiwaitan. They gave me that name after the old man on my father's side. Kiwaitan. Oh, that's a cold wind. Yes. And then when I went home to the big bush, Kokum called me in English, little jumping deer. And my tongue gets kind of twisted when I try and say it in Cree, but that's what it meant. And when I went to residential school, I was given a number. And I was a fierce little one, being brought up with four or five brothers. And when I resisted and wanted to let them know my name was Lorna, then I really got it. So I got it. My name was number 43. So that was an awakening. They can call you anything. And when I got married, it was Standing Ready, Way, Chicago. Yes, I had no choice. You live over there now with the many White Bear First Nations that lived on that reserve. Wasn't a nation, it was nations. And I married into a Lakota there. So, but today is another day. Today is a beautiful day. Nautica Petra Miomaskiki, old woman who brings good medicine. What is medicine? Oh, that's a good question. Medicine could be your laughter, always laughing. That's your medicine. Or it could be when you go and pick the roots and what we call weeds aren't weeds. I used to go and pick Seneca root. Yes. Oh, I still do pick medicines. So with that, I come from a long lineage. Hanakachapio was one of the negotiators for Treaty 4. His son Pipicasis, from his second wife, was chief, and the reserve named after him. You see, Mike Holcomb wasn't able to become chief. Colonialism set in then. Her name was Aro. They gave her the name Ruby. So that was good, yeah. So we can get along together, understanding each other, respecting each other, like today and all the events that all the elders here in Regina are asked to participate in, to share their words of knowledge. And I'm a pitiful human being. I can't talk my Cree language. But it's coming back to me through my great-granddaughters, Kisupwayo and Miguan. They got their Indian names too, and they use them today. Makes me happy. Them teaching me now. Oh, I was taught, Kauya, Kauyaka. Oh my goodness, you know, nice to be able to say a few words in my own language. Gives my heart pleasure. But enough now. I come to you, and I'm thankful for the gifts that I receive. Things happen to these. That's another teaching, this broadcloth. Now, the blue is for the men, and the red is for the women. And there's teachings on the two colors. Most of all, it's the tobacco. Oh, yes, I was taught that. And as I reflect back and I think back, be very careful with the tobacco. It's not for daily use. It's for daily use in a good way. So I'll hold it close to my heart. They say it's to your left hand. Yes, that's good. I could go on and on, teachings, so much to tell and so little time. But help me now. I close my eyes to this world. I am standing on a little rickety chair with no back, and Kokum showing me out this little window in the kitchen, looking east. And she's talking to me in Cree, tells me to look and see, you know. Mushroom is standing there. Oh, I can feel. He's looking above the tree line, and he slowly bows his head. And Kokum pushes my head down and tells me to pray. And she prays in Cree and holds me close. Oh, peace, comfort. Yashamanitu, Creator, Maker of heaven and earth and the universe and all that there is therein. We give you thanks. Miigwech for this beautiful day. Miigwech for the good night's rest. We thank you for all you've given us. We thank you for this great gathering of great minds, minds that you've blessed each and every one of us with. We acknowledge that, Gishamanitu. We acknowledge this wonderful day, this wonderful time to give notice of how things are going in this world, and to remember that we must take care of Mother Earth. You take care of her. She takes care of us. Gishamanito, Megwich for this. And be with us now, this day, and in the days to come, and the many moons to come. Oh, Geshemanito, be with us this day as we look on and see the wonders, the greatness of what's being done for the goodness of Mother Earth. Oh, Creator, you've shown us the way, and since time immemorial, to walk softly on Mother Earth. Oh, so much you've given us, so much teachings to treat her like we want to be treated. Watch over us now as we continue on with today's blessings that come in many ways. Be with us, Geshemanito, and watch over us. Be with those who aren't here, and be with those who are looking down on us, looking in wonder. I can only imagine, Geshemanito, you've given us each great minds. And it's how we use them. We use your gifts. Megwich for all you've given us. This is a time to be thankful, a time to recognize those works of great minds. Megwich, hi. Amen and amen. Ekase.
Thank you, Elder Standing Ready, for your prayer and your thoughtful and inspiring words. Thank you so much. RCE Saskatchewan is very pleased to have His Honor, the Honorable Russ Morasti, Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, as an honorary patron of the RCE. His Honor has also kindly sent along a message that's in your program this morning that I would draw your attention to, but I would now like to invite His Honor to deliver an address to our gathering today.
Well, good morning, everyone. Tansin wahumarantik minantortimitik. Good morning, everyone, friends and relatives. Greetings to everyone on such a beautiful morning. I just want to share a little off, my notes here, but that greeting in Cree, which is my first language, includes Nuahu Marantik, which means my relations. And in our culture, we believe that we are all related in some way, all connected. And listening to the elder's prayer, certainly you can get that message in her words as well. And so I guess by extension, in the context of this event, when we're all connected in some way, that means that whatever we do, good or bad, will affect somebody else that's close to us or maybe far from us. But really, that's the meaning and that's the purpose of using that greeting. Thank you, Elder, for your prayer. Powerful words. Certainly, again, very much connected to this event and what you folks continue to do each and every day. It's a privilege for me to be the honorary patron for RCE Saskatchewan, and it's a pleasure to be here and to help present awards. I'm looking forward to the presentations and to hear about the projects and work that are being recognized. I've always believed that everyone can contribute to their communities. And in fact, we need everyone to contribute to important issues such as sustainability. Our future and the future of our descendants is in our hands. And now is the time to consider how we can live in harmony with each other, with all the living things on this planet, and as stated by Elder Mother Earth. Really a symbiotic relationship, which is obvious to most, I think. I do think that most people want to live more sustainably, but it can be confusing at times. Even for me, admittedly, when I think about sustainability and how I can contribute, I think about the little things that I might be able to do. I often think that maybe expectations are so great that we believe that each of us has to somehow change the world, but I think it's more in terms of each of us contributing in our own way. An example that was given to me as far as that idea of maybe being a little confused is, it's a bit simplistic, but I think it's one that we face every day and have in Regina here in a different way. When grocery stores stop providing paper bags, that goes back some time, and replaced by plastic because of, I guess, the cost and more efficient at the time, there was a belief. And now we're going back to paper, and it makes me wonder, where's that paper coming from? Is it recycled, which is good, or is it coming from more trees that protect us in different ways? So I think the key there is that more education, more information, so that everyone, the average person on the street in our communities, can make the decisions that they need to make around their contribution. So today I congratulate all the presenters on your award-winning projects. Thank you for your research and innovative ideas and for showing us ways that we can live sustainably. It can be easy to feel anxious about the impacts, our impact rather, on the planet, but your inspiring projects should give us all hope. I'm grateful to the board and staff of RCE for hosting this award program and for bringing people and institutions together to share information and towards shared goals. I also want to thank RCE's partner this year, the Royal Saskatchewan Museum. Thank you for managing the state-of-the-art research and an educational natural history museum for all of us to enjoy. I'm looking forward to the tour of the new exhibit after this event is concluded. So in closing, it is customary for the Lieutenant Governor to bring greetings on behalf of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, our Queen of Canada for 70 years. And in the spirit of reconciliation, I want to share that greeting in my first language of Woodland Cree. Nimadhuditin kitapitamato tamaskatuin gichogamascoche. Gichogamasco no tagitaskino Canada. Elizabeth Niso. Thank you very much to everybody.
I'd like to thank His Honor for his thoughtful comments and for taking such a keen interest in sustainability and the educational work of the RCE. I invite the Vice-Regal Party to take their seats in the first row of the auditorium, as we will now have a few additional speeches. I would now like to invite a number of special guests to the stage who we are very fortunate to have with us today to bring welcome. The first welcome message is from Dr. Glenn Suter, the curator of the human ecology at the Royal Saskatchewan Museum and a longtime supporter of RCE Saskatchewan. Dr. Suter.
Thank you, Roger, Your Honor, Elder. Welcome, everybody, to the RSM. I'm happy to be given the chance to welcome you here as the host organization for this event. It's always a fun day, very insightful and exciting to see all the good work that's being done. The museum, the RSM, has been part of the RCE right from the start, and that's because the RCE people shared our belief that museums like this are really important for sustainable development. They're really, and the education around sustainable development. There are very few places in society that provide the function that a museum does. Like the definition of a museum is all about where the muses gather, those creative forces that we all have. And it's very important for us as animals that like to reflect on things to have those kind of spaces, to be able to have that common ground and come together to think about these things. And really, a lot of the activity, the things that happen within these walls and beyond through the museum, they address a lot of the sustainable development goals when I reflect on it. So it's been a really fun partnership to have with the RCE to move as we've pursued these activities. Some of the things we do, of course, include public education, which we'll have a taste of after this event through our new gallery. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, home of the big T-Rex. We have the world's biggest T-Rex. And now I'm happy to say a brand new gallery all about importance of the Anthropocene. But beyond the public education, of course, we also get involved with community engagement. Some of the work I do gets me out into the community to talk with people about what they're thinking. And also, of course, our research. And whether we have it's cutting-edge research in paleontology or archaeology, wildlife conservation, and my own field of human ecology, it's a really wonderful place to work in that sense. And including a program that you'll hear a bit about later on called Songs for Nature, and I have to acknowledge my colleague Catherine Arbuthnot sitting in the crowd here, because that's all about the importance of music and how it helps us connect with nature. We're very happy to showcase that. And with that, it's very fitting that we are a place that's able to host this sort of event and celebrate all the good work that's being done in the province around sustainability education. And I want to get out of the way so we can get on with the party. Thanks.
Thank you, Glenn, for bringing the words of the Muse to us today. The second message is from the province of Saskatchewan, and I would like to invite MLA Derek Myers, MLA for Regina Walsh Acres and member of the province's Standing Committee on Human Services. MLA Myers.
Thank you so much, Roger. Your Honor, Elder Miigwech, thank you for the wonderful prayer. Great touching words. And welcome to everybody. I am here on behalf of Premier Moe and Advanced Education Minister Jean Mikowski, and I would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that we are on Treaty 4 territory. Education is a great tool for building a sustainable future. This past November, the Government of Saskatchewan, in collaboration with the post-secondary education sector, announced its new provincial international education strategy, which aims to create an equitable, responsive, transparent, and collaborative approach to international education in our province. Now, it's the first provincial strategy in Canada to address the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as cornerstones of international research, global engagement, international education, and economic growth. Saskatchewan's international education strategy focuses on 4 sustainable development goals, including quality education, decent work and economic growth, reduced inequalities, and partnerships for goals. Through this strategy, we are proudly building a global community. Built on 2 pillars, global engagement and capacity building and leadership, the strategy lays out the foundation for a global approach to enhance the province's profile to attract key international markets and new markets. Now, since the launch of this strategy, our government has signed 4 memoranda of understanding with partners around the globe, and our institutions have signed many more. It's through these agreements, Saskatchewan can expand academic and global linkages to promote education and research opportunities in our province and abroad. This relationship opens doors and strengthens the intellectual cultural relations through research, exchange, and trade. And by leveraging these international relationships, the province will be better able to provide opportunities for Saskatchewan students to study abroad and in key markets, destinations, and will position Saskatchewan as a destination of choice for international students. We look forward to building upon these partnerships. And I'm excited that we've already launched under this new strategy the Saskatchewan Agent Training Program, which will ensure students receive high-quality service and supported with consistent and appropriate Saskatchewan-based instruction and resources. The new International Education Practitioner Program. It's the first of its kind in Canada and will deliver a provincial approach to international education training to the post-secondary education sector, and the Saskatchewan Student Ambassador Program that will provide students with specialized training to develop the skills and knowledge they require to become global citizens and help them succeed in their future. International students bring a global perspective to Saskatchewan. They enrich our culture and create bridges between their homes and ours. Saskatchewan students who study abroad come back with a fresh perspective about the world and Canada's place in it. Today's recognition event is an opportunity to learn more about the role of education in building a sustainable future. I'd like to thank you for having me here today. I look forward to seeing all the award recipients, and I just want to also invite everybody. This is truly one of the great facilities and one of the great places we have in our city. I've been coming here for years, and it's so exciting, and I know you're going to get to see the new gallery today, the home gallery. I was here for the launch of it. I brought my 18-month-old and my 5-year-old, and they were just buzzing around this place. It is truly one of the jewels we have in our city, so I'm really happy to be here today and to experience all this. So on behalf of the government, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Myers, for being with us today and for the province's efforts to create a sustainable Saskatchewan. Thank you. Our third guest today, representing the City of Regina, is Shannon Zestykit, Regina City Councillor for Ward 8. We are delighted to have you here today, Councillor Zestykit.
The City of Regina acknowledges we are in the traditional lands of Treaty 4 territory, a treaty signed with 35 First Nations across southern Saskatchewan, parts of Alberta and Manitoba, and the original lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. The City of Regina owes its strength and vibrancy to these lands and the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory, as well as settlers from around the world who continue to be welcomed here and call Regina home. I'd like to recognize those who have spoken before: Elder Lorna Standing Ready, His Honor Russ Marasti, the Lieutenant Governor, Dr. Glenn Suter and the Royal Saskatchewan Museum, Derek Myers, the MLA for Regina Welshacres, the sponsor of this event. On behalf of Mayor Masters and my colleagues on City Council, welcome to the 14th Annual RCE Saskatchewan Education for Sustainable Development Recognition event, and the first one in person since the pandemic began. Today we are here to recognize and celebrate the local achievements in sustainable development. I'm really excited to be here today on behalf of the city and to recognize all the great work that's happening every year. I was actually fortunate to be a part of 2 organizations that were the recipients of 3 awards in the past. So it's really fun to be here as a city councillor now and help recognize all of you. And I'm going to talk a bit about the city's recent work in sustainability, but I just also want to note that events like these, where we recognize the successes and the good work that's happening in relation to climate and environment, are so important. And it is really important to share the success stories, which help inspire other people and show that, in my opinion, it's really not that all it takes is a little bit of initiative and hard work in order to see successes in these areas, and to demonstrate that we can make a big impact on sustainability as individuals and as a community. Okay, back to my notes now. One thing that I am proud of is that City Council unanimously approved the city's energy and sustainability framework, which allows us to tackle sustainability on a wider municipal scale. I do want to share a few things about that framework with you because it's so relevant to what we're talking about today. This framework solidifies our commitment to be a renewable net zero community by 2050. It has a community-wide plan and outlines the steps that we need to take over the next several years, involving a transition to renewable resources, a reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions, and sustainable practices at all levels of the community. We did a significant amount of public engagement as part of developing the framework, and I helped to facilitate that engagement as part of the Community Advisory Group, which I co-chaired, and we work with Sustainability Solutions Group to create the framework. There are 7 big moves as part of the framework and 31 related actions to mitigate climate change by reducing emissions, improving energy consumption, and shifting to renewable or low carbon energy sources. Additionally, we also have a transit master plan that we're talking about today. We have council this afternoon, and it has ways for us to improve our transit system to make it more effective and efficient. So it talks about fares, affordability, and an alternative, like a green energy fleet powered by electric buses. And I'm pushing for fare-free transit and expansion of that beyond, this is not part of my speaking notes, beyond what's currently recommended in the plan. So if you're interested in fare-free transit, I invite you to contact council in support of that for youth up to the age of 18. And both of these documents, particularly the framework, identifies opportunities for investment that will create jobs, stimulate businesses, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and provide benefits for the community and the city. I've said to many folks, this is not just an environmental plan, this is an economic plan with significant economic opportunities for our community. I also want to thank the Royal Saskatchewan Museum for hosting this event, and the RCE again for this important and much needed program, for its continued support and acknowledgement of all the environmental initiatives happening in our community. And also congratulations to all the winners. Your accomplishments are very important and inspire others to take actions of their own. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zestykit, for your strong leadership on environmental and social issues with the city, and of course for your support for the RCE. I would now like to invite remarks from our major sponsors. Without the generous support of our sponsors, this year's recognition program would not have been possible. Our first speaker, representing the University of Saskatchewan, a gold sponsor of this event, is Julian Demkew, Senior Strategist for Institutional Initiatives at the U of S.
Thank you. Your Honor, Elder standing ready, and recipients and honored guests. My name is Julian Demkew, and on behalf of President Peter Stoichev at the University of Saskatchewan, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to provide some brief remarks. The University of Saskatchewan is very proud to be a founding member of RCE Saskatchewan, and is equally proud to be sponsoring the event here today. I was looking at the media release for the event, and it begins with the question, how will we move forward toward a sustainable future in Saskatchewan? And I believe if there's any simple answer to that, I believe the answer to that is together. The list of award recipients here is a testament to that sentiment. We're here recognizing universities, polytechnics, school divisions, private companies, community-led organizations, all here today and online, with different approaches, different ideas, and different solutions, but all coming together toward a common goal of sustainability. The University of Saskatchewan is proud to be part of that particular community, and we've been contributing that for years in many different ways. Most recently, though, under the leadership of President Stoichev, the University of Saskatchewan has adopted its first pan-institutional sustainability strategy, which is approved by our governing bodies. That strategy outlines a number of actions in the areas very similar to the goals of RCE. In it, it commits us to the institution to following the UN's SDGs, including tying our own commitment to reducing our greenhouse gas emissions to meet the 2030 and 2050 goals as outlined by the Paris Accord. We recognize that we have much work to do, but we are pleased to see progress in our strategy. Last week, in fact, the university was formally recognized by the Times Higher Ed International Impact Rankings, which placed us in the top 5% universities around the world who are advancing UN SDGs. It's a significant increase over our previous ranking. Of particular pride is that in SDG 17, it's a goal with a primary focus on performance and working with others to move the goals forward. We were the top university in North America and in the top 2% in the world. The University of Saskatchewan recognizes the need to come together to achieve the goal of sustainability, and we are proud to be part of RCE and recognizing the work that's being done in the community. Again, I want to congratulate all the recipients today, and thank you once again for the opportunity to be here.
The University of Saskatchewan has always been a strong supporter of the RC, and I do want to say our post-secondary sector in Saskatchewan have all made commitments now to the Sustainable Development Goals, and I think that really bodes well for our future relations between University of Saskatchewan, University of Regina, and Saskatchewan Polytechnic, and the various colleges. So thank you so much. Okay, our next presenter representing Sask Energy, a silver sponsor for this year's event, is Ashley Janus, Acting Manager of Environmental Assessment at Sask Energy. Ashley, I invite you to make your comments.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to offer greetings on behalf of Sask Energy, a sponsor once again for this worthwhile achievement event. Sask Energy serves hundreds of thousands of citizens and businesses across Saskatchewan, ensuring that natural gas is flowing safely and reliably when our customers need it. At times, this means we are crossing natural spaces in our province, which we understand requires the utmost care in order to have the least impact possible and on our environment. We take this responsibility very seriously, from our day-to-day work in the field to planning our future and educating the leaders of tomorrow. One of the best ways to do this is by supporting the efforts of organizations who are focused on changing attitudes and behavior in our province, as well as undertaking important conservation work to protect our landscapes. From the beginning, RCE Saskatchewan has celebrated how change at a regional, local, and individual level can indeed create a measurable difference. At Sask Energy, we have no doubt that the funding environmental and education will foster more understanding and commitment to environmental stewardship. Thank you.
Thank you to Sask Energy for its ongoing efforts to advance sustainable development in Saskatchewan. Next, we will hear from Jessica Terrio, Director of Government and Public Affairs, representing Mosaic, a major potash company here in the province and a bronze sponsor for this year's event.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very grateful to be here this morning on behalf of Mosaic, and it's just a fantastic opportunity for us to be a sponsor again this year, and thrilled to continue our commitment towards this event. And for those of you that haven't met me before, I am Jessica Terrio, as was previously announced. I actually work for Mosaic out of the Regina office, and I help to coordinate all of the ESG programs across all of our North American sites. And with that, though, my heart is in environmental engineering, and I'm a graduate here from the U of R in the environmental engineering program. For those of you that aren't familiar with Mosaic, we're a global organization with phosphate and potash mines with just over 13,000 employees operating in 9 countries around the world. And here in Saskatchewan, we have 3 sites, one in Belle Plaine, one in Colonsay, and one in Esterhazy, and then our Saskatchewan head office here based out of Regina. Now, when it comes to sustainability, Mosaic has actually been reporting externally on ESG since back in 2009, but we've made significant progress over the years since then. In 2020, we announced 13 new ESG targets that align with 5 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And then more recently, just before Christmas of last year, we publicly announced our commitment towards net zero, actually across all of our facilities around the world. And with that, when we talk about ESG evolutions across Mosaic, I can't not talk about the ESG leads and all the ESG teams that we have across all of our facilities. And it's really these teams that help to facilitate and implement all the new projects and our new ideas in terms of new technologies, best practices, and learning from others across all of our sites. And for me today, that's what this is all about. It's about learning and about sharing in all of a collective effort to create a more sustainable future for all of us. And so with that, I'm just really grateful to be here, and I want to say thanks again for the opportunity and looking forward to meeting more of you here throughout the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. It's again great to have you with us again this year, and it's great to hear about the commitments of Mosaic to ESG and ESD, so the two areas. Okay, we have a number of other organizational sponsors who have representatives here with us today, and I would like to acknowledge these sponsors and their representatives who are in attendance. Please stand and give us a wave when I call your name. Again, the Saskatchewan Ministry of Advanced Education, represented today by MLA Derek Myers. Luther College, represented by its president, Reverend Dr. Mark Jerry, Dr. Yvonne Petrie, its academic dean, Angela Bethune, the director of finance, and Pastor Sean Bell. Maybe if you could give a wave. Very good. Thank you. Mcpherson Engineering, represented by Orly Mcpherson, project manager and a tireless supporter of RCE Saskatchewan. The University of Saskatchewan's Office of Sustainability, represented by Matt Wolfsfield, the university's community engagement coordinator. Campion College, represented by its president, Dr. Samuli Halua, and by faculty member and longtime supporter of the RCE, Catherine Arbuthnot. University of Regina, President's Advisory Committee on Sustainability, represented by the President of the University of Regina and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Jeff Keshen, along with Carol Rada, Project Manager, and Courtney Stange, Sustainability and Climate Action Research Officer. P3A Architects, represented by Alice Davidson. And Sask Outdoors, represented by its General Manager, Leah Japp. In addition, Sask Water has again been a generous sponsor for this year's event. 2 further key sponsors, Saskatchewan Polytechnic and the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists, will be introduced later in the program. We also have 2 further special guests. I would like to introduce Peter Menzies, Executive Director of the Royal Saskatchewan Museum, and also joining us a little later, Erica Ritchie, NDP MLA for Saskatoon, Nutana, and opposition critic for Environment, Energy, and Resources. Thank you to all of our financial sponsors and special guests. Please join me in a round of applause for their generosity and commitment. I would now like to draw your attention to today's program, where you will find a list of those projects receiving recognition. These projects were adjudicated by an independent panel of experts from the University of Regina, the University of Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan Polytechnic, and Campion College, using the following criteria. Does the project involve an element of education for sustainability, whether formal, informal, or non-formal? Does the project strengthen one of the pillars of sustainability, social, cultural well-being, economic prosperity, and ecological health, in a way that does not damage and hopefully advances the other pillars? Does the project support one or more of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which Canada signed in 2015, or one or more sustainability challenges outlined in the Earth Charter? Has the project engaged in a variety of people in action to achieve positive social, economic, and environmental outcomes? Has the project achieved significant milestones since it was implemented or since it was last recognized by RCE Saskatchewan? And lastly, has the project built human capacity for future action to support sustainability? These awards are non-monetary awards whose goal is to recognize and showcase education for sustainable development projects in our region. As such, we felt that today would be an important opportunity to allow representatives of projects recognized to have an opportunity to briefly speak about their own projects, to allow others an opportunity to get a taste of the excitement and possibility associated with each, and to meet the people advancing them. I would now like to invite His Honor, the Honorable Russ Morasti, Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, to join me on the stage for the awarding of certificates. In terms of the formal celebrations today, I will invite a representative or representatives from each project in the order of the projects as set out in your program. Please limit your presentation to about 2.5 to 3 minutes. Carla Ballman, who is sitting here in the front row with cards, will indicate when you're at 2 minutes and from that point on. Courtney Stange, who is with us, will be advancing your slides. You can signal her to advance the slides with a little nod or saying, "Next slide." Once you have finished your presentation, please move to the other side of the stage to receive your certificate from Dr. Glenn Suter. While the photo is being taken, we ask that the next group listed in the program move to the podium, coming up on this side of the stage. For your photo, we will not be shaking hands today. Please stand in between His Honor, who will be situated here, and Dr. Glenn Suter, who has given you the certificate. And then please leave the stage to my left. Following the presentation of these awards, we will then present 2 special awards, the Lyle Bankel Future Generations Award and the Dr. Garth Pickard Award for Post-Secondary Excellence in Education for Sustainable Development. Knowing that we have time constraints, feel free to get up as needed during the morning's festivities. The washrooms are just outside the auditorium to your left. So, following the order of awards set out in the program, it is now my pleasure to call upon a representative of our first project, the Regina Butterfly Way project.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carla Ballman, and I'm just one of the butterfly rangers in the Regina area. Along with me today is Gail, Elaine, and Paige, and then we've got some other butterfly rangers who are unable to make it, but they have contributed significantly to the project. So if you're wondering what a Butterfly Way is, the David Suzuki Foundation's Butterfly Way project is a volunteer-led movement that is providing crucial habitat and food sources for declining populations of wild bees and butterflies in neighborhoods across Canada. As rangers, our mission is to establish local butterfly ways by planting at least a dozen pollinator patches in our community. But how? Well, the David Suzuki Foundation provided training, and with our newfound knowledge, we recruited friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, and basically anyone else who might be interested in participating. We used presentations and posted on social media to spread awareness. We also gave participants butterfly way signs and window decals to generate conversations. As rangers, we provided knowledge and resources to help people get started. We gave away native plant seeds, seedlings, and held a plant sale to help our recruits establish pollinator-friendly gardens. We were happy to work with anyone, no matter how much space they had, from a few pots on a balcony to a schoolyard. It all adds up. For example, we had a donation of some swamp milkweed plants, and I gave one to Paige, and she had monarchs in her yard in the very first year, which was just fantastic. It just shows that even one plant can make a difference. So the Butterfly Way project is building momentum, and in our very first year, we had over 200 pollinator patches established in the Regina and area community. Thousands of new native plants were planted, and this comprised over 120 different species of plants added to our community, increasing biodiversity and aiding in conservation efforts. We invite you to learn more and become part of the growing community. Landscaping with grasses, wildflowers, trees, and shrubs that are native and that our pollinators co-evolved with can be an effective, beautiful way to ensure the survival of the amazing insects our lives depend on. Plus, you get flowers. At this point, I want to invite Gail Fennell to tell you a little bit more about some of the work she did and have some final comments.
Thank you, Carla. Yes, I do want to talk about two things in particular that I've been involved in. One is the garden that's right outside this building, and this is where I started. The Butterfly Way wasn't in effect, but it was the perfect garden to bring into the Butterfly Way because we are growing native plants there, and there's a lot of people come to the garden and enjoy it. So instead of being a place where we just have flowers that decorate a garden, we have now begun to start looking from the point of view, what do the bees need? What do the birds need? What do the butterflies need? And even, what do the plants need? So it's becoming a community of people coming to the garden, growing for a community of plants and insects and animals that have lived together for thousands of years. So we're learning how we can all live together in a city, because it's very different than living outside. So there have been over 70 people have come and volunteered at this garden in the last 4 years, and there's more coming every year. New people are volunteering. And one of the things that we can do with this garden is we can share the seeds, we can share the plants. It's a small garden, so there's not enough room for them to all keep going, so we share the plants. And as Carla said, there's now over 200 places around this city that are part of this little pollinator patch that we have right outside right outside the museum here. And the museum has been a wonderful supporter. Thank you very much for that. So from there, we can all become a community, and we get to meet all of the different people that are doing all of the different things. We are becoming not just one little patch ourselves, but we are joining with all the other people, like the 26 people who are represented here and all their sponsors. Thank you very much.
All right. Very good, a fantastic project. The next project is Academics for Climate Community Lecture Series at the University of Regina.
Tansei, Tanshe, bonjour, hello everyone. Chimigwich, merci for the teachings and the prayers and the address and the support. Elder Lorna Standing Ready and Your Honor Russ Marasti. Thank you so much to RCE Saskatchewan for recognizing the Academics for Climate Lecture Series with an Education for Sustainable Development Recognition Award. It is so wonderful to have the work of everyone involved in the project recognized. I'm just going to take a moment to address this. I'm addressing the microphone. The Academics for Climate Community Series, Towards a Better Understanding of Climate Change in Saskatchewan, was a 9-part lecture series held January through March 2020. The series was created by Britt Hall in biology, Dr. Sean Tucker from Business Administration, and myself, Dr. Sarah Abbott, in film at the University of Regina. We created the group Academics for Climate, the lecture series as a way for academic knowledge on climate and sustainability to be shared with Regina citizens and to increase public understanding of climate change and its range of local and global impacts. Each lecture was filmed and posted on the Academics for Climate YouTube channel to provide educational resources for public and academic audiences. To date, there is a combined total of about 1,600 views. I hope you'll check them out. The 8 lectures by University of Regina faculty reflect the wide range of climate and sustainability expertise on our campus. Dr. Britt Hall presented on evidence supporting human-induced climate change. Dr. David Sachin discussed impressions and realities of climate change in Saskatchewan. Dr. Carrie Finley looked at adaptation and mitigation of prairie water ecosystems in a changing climate. Dr. Margot Hurlbert, lead author on one of the 6th IPCC reports, shared science-based climate change findings and potential scenarios collected by the IPCC. Dr. Gordon Pennycook shared his research findings on fake news, political ideology, and climate change. Dr. Emily Eaton looked at how Regina's renewable city motion can benefit diverse communities. Michelle Brass presented on land-based Indigenous-led responses as crucial to addressing impacts of climate change. Dr. Janice Dale shared the history and potential of the University of Regina's geothermal project. The 9th lecture was by Dr. Mark Jackard from the University of British Columbia. He discussed his new book, Emergency: The Citizen's Guide to Climate Action. The AFC was supported by 15 University of Regina faculties and departments, the U of R Vice President Research Discretionary Fund, the Johnson Shoyama Graduate School of Public Policy at the University of Saskatchewan, and Now What? The Art of Being Fully Human in a Time of Crisis online global community. So I just want to say a big thanks for recognizing all this great climate and sustainability work with this award. And also big thanks to RCE Saskatchewan Events Award Team, the RSM, the sponsors, the many 26 2022 award recipients, and all you audience members for your time, efforts, and actions toward awareness, protection, and healing of our planet and all beings who live there and here. Miigwech.
Thank you. Our next project isn't here in person today, so I will be reading what was submitted. This is from Miwassan's Friends of the Valley. The word Miwassan is a Cree word meaning beautiful. We are situated in Saskatoon on Treaty 6 territory and on the traditional homeland of the Métis people. We acknowledge this as part of our organization's efforts towards reconciliation, and we honor the vast knowledge held by the traditional caretakers of the land as we steward it. Miwassan's volunteer program, Friends of the Valley, involves our volunteer community in ways that enhance their well-being while promoting lifelong learning. Their involvement and the fostering of this community encourages a healthy lifestyle. Our ability to work with all ages, skill sets, and groups encourages a truly sustainable way. We show our commitment to protecting, restoring, and promoting the sustainable use of our land resources while educating our volunteers about the hazards in land degradation and biodiversity loss. In our wildlife surveys, cleanups campaigns, tree wrappings, planting events, and invasive species programs, we are showing our volunteers how we can combat some of the impacts of climate change, thereby allowing our volunteers to take climate action. Slide 2. This map shows the full area of the conservation zone, the largest urban conservation zone. In the south, past Beaver Creek, just a few kilometers shy of Whitecap Dakota First Nation, and in the north, past Clark's Crossing. Approximately 60% of the conservation zone is in the city of Saskatoon and 40% in the RM of Corman Park. For a perspective, 67 square kilometers is about the equivalent of 13,400 football fields, so the Miwassan Valley is a massive area to steward in a unique urban and rural environment. In this past year, we worked with 2,210 volunteers, earning a total of 7,196.5 hours. Our mandates, slide 3 at Miwassan, are to conserve, educate, and develop. Nature-based learning that engages people deeply in the natural world while highlighting the conservation efforts and unique ecosystems in the Miwassan Valley is our focus. Ecological monitoring, such as bird surveys, wildlife tracking, and twig and bud identification, helps Miwassan's volunteers learn of the current health of the valley, and with the right training and tools, they can effectively help to enhance the health of the valley. Mcpherson employs various techniques on how to collect and interpret ecological data and how to strengthen our resolve to protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of our ecosystem, and how to sustainably manage our natural resources helps us combat the impacts of climate change. So congratulations to that project. Our next project, a design of a soil farm for Mosaic Potash Belle Plaine.
Hello, everyone. Our project is the pilot project soil farm design for Mosaic Potash Belle Plaine. I'm Justin. With me today is Tommy and Josephine. Unavailable today is our supervisor, Dr. Kelvin, and Eric Wilmot from Mosaic. We are a group from the University of Regina completing our capstone project for our environmental engineering systems engineering degree. We'll begin by thanking you for this opportunity and for the recognition award to sustainable development. A little bit about our project. We were asked by Mosaic to provide a bioremediation method for Cluster 2 contaminated site near Belle Plaine, Mosaic, potash mine. This photo indicates where the Cluster 2 site is located, and the Cluster site was created in the 1960s, where the oil-water mixture byproduct of the potash mining operation was disposed of in a lagoon bed. And over time, the water evaporated or infiltrated, leaving this contaminated soil behind.
So as a team, we conducted numerous literature reviews into 7 different methods of bioremediation. We looked into both ex situ and in situ methods. After thorough comparisons, we determined that conventional land farming was the most suitable technology for our site. The image as seen here is that of a standard land farm design, which typically consists of a land plot to contain the contaminated soil, equipment to routinely till the soil in order to aerate it, which promotes the remediation. In situations where there may be increased runoff, a leachate collection system would be implemented through the use of liners or clay compaction. Berms can also be added to reduce dust pollutions and also contain direct leachate runoff. As a team, we based our design off of this standard.
So after comparing 3 alternatives, we chose this design based on its environmental impact, cost, and level of maintenance. The view from above and the cross-sectional view are shown here on this slide. This soil farm uses ex situ techniques to treat approximately 18,668 cubic meters of soil. A liner is used at the bottom of the farm to filter leachate, which is collected and can be reused for irrigation. Space is left above the top of the farm to mitigate wind disturbance and to keep runoff within the boundaries. Operation of the soil farm includes nutrient addition, soil testing, tilling, and irrigation. The frequency of operations were recommended with the use of federal land farming guidelines. To conclude, by completing this pilot project, Mosaic can confirm the use of land farming as a way to remediate contamination on their land, ensuring its usability and health in the future. Thank you so much.
Fantastic, thank you. Our next presentation is a virtual presentation, Earth Connections Therapy Garden Collaboration.
Good morning, one and all. Your Honor, Elder, members of the RCE, distinguished guests, fellow recipients, and guests of the recipients. The Earth Connections Therapy Garden Collaboration is exactly what it sounded like, or sounds like. Kristen Schott from the Yorkton Tribal Council as part of the YTAI had applied for grants to create therapy gardens in communities that are within the area of the YTAI. In 2019, she contacted us to let us know that she was successful in obtaining some of those grants and asked us to be a part of the creation of the therapy gardens for the communities. She had heard about our work with Stony Rapids and the Women and Children's Crisis Center and the therapy garden that we had done there. After collaborating with the YTAI, Kristen, as well as the various communities, we were able to devise and design 2 specific therapy garden designs for the communities based on the size of the grants that they had received. On the slide, you'll see the completed picture of the therapy garden that was created for Kisiku's First Nation. The other, a slightly smaller one, included 4 raised beds that were created and set up in the 4 directions to honor the land and to create opportunity for all to visit, plant, learn, rest, harvest, and reflect. During the, we originally were going to do these gardens in 2020, however, the pandemic hit, of course, and that delayed the project by a year. We started and then were able to again then begin to create the actual gardens this past summer. During that time, as we all know, there were a number of unmarked graves discovered, actually thousands, and that brought additional meaning to the therapy gardens. The slide here shows the therapy garden that was created at Cody, and they had also asked to have a memorial plaque designed and created to honor the residential school survivors and the families of the communities that are still there. It was, they had all the children from the school, the council members, the community members were all welcomed to the opening ceremony, which occurred on September 30th, the Orange Shirt Day. The therapy gardens are continuing now through the year and will be planted with a variety of different things, from flowers, medicines, as well as the ability to grow food and to give the community members the opportunity to sit and reflect and heal. We're often asked, what's next? And currently we're not sure, but it's a great question. And I assume it's one that a number of the recipients are asked as well. And I think the best way to answer that is just to say, ask me again later. We'd like to thank the RCE and to once again congratulate our fellow recipients. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of this ceremony.
The next project is Education and Explorations in Being Responsible Software Engineers.
Hello everyone, my name is Priya Shah and I'm a graduate student in Software System Engineering in the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science at University of Regina. Before I begin, I would like to thank the RCE Saskatchewan for putting on this event. I'm presenting on behalf of the University of Regina, the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science, and Dr. Tim McKeag, a lecturer in Software System Engineering. Tim apologizes for not being here to be able in person, and he's currently teaching one of his classes right now as this event is happening. The next slide. I'm here today to talk about a couple of software system engineering courses that Tim created to get the students to think about what it means to be a responsible engineer. Tim has been particularly interested in facilitating learning opportunities that empower engineers to explore the wider societal implications of the technologies they put out into the world. To help explore this idea, Tim looked to see how he could incorporate students learning about the UN SDGs in some of his courses. I was one of the Tim students. Tim has taught few courses. In one of the course, students learned about researching and building software tools in support of collaboration, learning, knowledge management, and each student independently researched the UN SDGs, picked one of the UN SDGs, and envisioned a software project in support of advancing community knowledge and education knowledge on the specific SDG topic. The classes themselves were inspired by UN SDG 4, which is quality education, and the students' projects were wide-ranging in their inspiration and support of the UN SDGs. Next slide. As you can see, there were over 35 projects that were created over the 2021 academic term. The projects were spanned by many UN SDGs. Many projects included a main SDG with overlapping connection with the another SDG. Students seem to really care about the supporting the UN SDG 3, which is good health and well-being. This was interesting as all students' projects occurred during the COVID-19 lockdowns. However, the key was that the students were able to pick any SDG of their choice and engineer a software system of building community knowledge on the SDG. This gave us a sense of ownership over the projects. The next one. For example, I focused on the UN SDG 3, which is good health and well-being. I created a web platform to enable people to learn about improving their mental health and to overcome anxiety. I integrated the Fill Toolkit better, which consists of a goals and mood tracker, self-esteem motivators, and an ability to learn from others by facilitating community conversations within particular group on the mental health. This site is still alive at warinot.site and it is in progress. The last. In Tim's words, reflecting on the experience, it was clear that students learned a great deal about designing and developing technologies from the lens of the UN SDGs. Overall, it was a very great experience. I too thought it was a fun and good experience as well. Tim would also like to inform the community that he will be presenting his paper on this experience at the upcoming Canadian Engineering Education Association annual conference, which is going to be held in the June. If anyone is interested in checking out the students' projects, then they can go to any one of the links which are mentioned on this slide. I would again like to thank RCE Saskatchewan for providing the recognition of our project. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next project, Introduction to Energy course with Indigenous elements for university students.
Hello, I'm Professor Jason Donov. I'm normally at the University of Calgary, but I'm on sabbatical for the year at the University of Regina. And slide. What we decided to do was take a course that's been run at the University of Calgary and bring it to the University of Regina. And the University of Regina said, if we're going to do this at the University of Regina, we have to have Indigenous voices included. And I said, I've never done anything like this before. But I happened to have a Métis student by the name of Ethan Beckler who thought it was a really great idea. So we found 4 Indigenous people to come in and share the microphone with and have them talk about their experiences with access to energy and not having access to energy and so forth. So I want to acknowledge Elder Marianne, Elder Florence, and then we also were the 2 elders we had as guests to the class. And then we had Darren Thomas, who's works in the energy sector, representing Indigenous people working in the energy sector, and then Tracy Primo, who's a friend of mine, who works for a nuclear power company out in Ontario. And Ethan, as a Métis student, interviewed all of them, and we incorporated their views about what has happened with energy into the course. And then we talked about how access to energy is useful, and that's Sustainable Development Goal number 7. We absolutely need this, next slide, in all of its various forms. And one of the big things we talk about is that it's very easy for us to ignore how energy is absolutely crucial for all the different energy services that we have. So things like being able to take a hot shower or even just have chocolate is an absolutely essential service that energy winds up providing us. Next slide, please. So that's Sustainable Development Goal number 1, but then Sustainable Development Goal number 13, which is there's a downside that the climate is changing in ways that humans have never seen. As a colleague of mine, James Cook, says, it's real, it's us, it's bad, experts agree, and there's hope. So the point of this class was to give students from across a wide discipline spectrum access to information and energy so they could understand how they can fit into all this. Next slide. It can be done, and the real downside, I mean, the good thing is that every person in the world in 2020 in the entire world benefits from access to energy. The downside is that every person in 2050 is going to suffer from the climate chaos that's coming. And this class outlined exactly what that means at an individual personal level around the world. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Our next project, Global Education Program, comparing SDGs in 3 countries.
Good morning, Your Honor, Elder Standing Ready, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to be here with you today. My name is Dave Hall. I'm a teacher at Luther College High School here in Regina. And with me today are 3 grade 11 students in environmental science. Julia, Fortune, and Elian are here with me. It's my honor to describe a project that involved 3 schools around the world, centering on coming together, getting to know one another, but in the backdrop was investigating the Sustainable Development Goals. The purpose was to allow the students in these 3 schools around the world to interact, create relationships, and look locally at how Sustainable Development Goals were being instituted in their own city. It was a cooperative program. When the teachers first dreamed up this project, we hoped that there would be an opportunity to visit the 3 schools. The other schools were in Danvers, Massachusetts, which is just north of Boston, and Noida, India, just outside of Delhi. So we wanted those students to come together and look at the Sustainable Development Goals. So the next slide sort of talks about how we did this. In October of 2021, Sustainable Development Goals were introduced to each class by their own teachers. The students then chose one of the Sustainable Development Goals to focus on and then begin to research the implementation or how well, or an analysis of how well those Sustainable Development Goals were going in their own city or their own communities. In December, groups came together. Let's actually go to the next slide. So what we did was that the Luther students that chose Sustainable Development Goal number 1 were paired with other students from the other 2 schools that also chose Sustainable Development Goal number 1. And it went back and forth this way. Those groups focusing on the same Sustainable Development Goal were then put in cohorts that communicated using Zoom to work on, connect, to discuss how things were going in their own communities. Next slide. And then in December, we had something called the Big Share. The Big Share was a big Zoom conference call that lasted all morning. Sustainable Development Goal number 1 cohort from each of the schools gave their reports, communicated with one another, and we had this big celebration. And this went on it took a couple hours, and greetings were brought by Dr. Petrie to kick it off. It was really a real celebration of the work that these students had done in their own schools. So we'd like to thank the RCE Saskatchewan for, again, allowing us this opportunity, and for Glenn Suter and the team here at the Royal Saskatchewan Museum for the event today. So thank you very much.
And I can say that was a wonderful event. The SDGs really are a global language. So, okay, our next project, Kistapinek Omanitiek Makoka, The Gathering Place.
Thank you very much, everyone. Nice try on the pronunciation. It's a difficult one. So our project, Kistapananic, Omakia Makochi, the gathering place. So Kistapananic is the Cree word for the gathering place. Omakia Makochi is the Dakota word for the gathering place. And as a whole, the Prince Albert area is known as the gathering place. So you get the next slide. So this project has been ongoing for the last 4 or 5 years. It is an absolutely huge project, and this is a before picture of what our display space looks like. Small town, colonial museum that really has departmentalized Indigenous history. So our new display, which is in the location of the bottom picture, will focus on pre-contact history to 1904 when Prince Albert became a city. Next slide, please. So in 2018, we developed a knowledge keeper group that has First Nations and Métis knowledge keepers on it. And we also embarked that year to create community murals, which are what you see around the top of the room. And those murals focus on themes that are important to the tribal groups in the Prince Albert area. There's a really lovely long one that shows the development of Prince Albert from pre-contact times to about 1900 when the Hudson's Bay Company was in Prince Albert. These murals were community-made murals with, under the direction of Leah Dorian, a Métis artist, and Kevin Piace, a Cree artist from Saskatoon. The murals themselves were painted by the community, and 2 of the sections were actually painted and created, developed by a grade 7 and 8 student class at Queen Mary School in Prince Albert. Just a second here. These murals, too, were also recognized by the Museums Association of Saskatchewan, and we were also awarded an honorable mention for the Governor General's Award for Excellence in Community Programming, which was amazing. Next slide, please. So within this room, we want to encourage visitors to learn about the whole history of Prince Albert. And through this work, we created a space where Indigenous residents can see their history and how it relates to the development of Prince Albert. And because of the development of our Knowledge Keeper group, the Historical Society has been drawn into additional partnerships and reconciliation projects within the city of Prince Albert. Next slide. And of course, I would really like to say thank you to all of our funders, because without them, none of this work would have been done. And of course, we have much work to do, and hopefully in the next 6 months or so, our exhibit will be done. And I really encourage you to make the drive up to Prince Albert to have a look. Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming all the way down here today. Fantastic project. The next project couldn't be with us today, so I'll just read the submission. It's The Legacy of Saskatoon's Hidden Forest, Inspiring Eco-Champions. Slide 1. The new heritage documentary, The Legacy of Saskatoon's Secret Forest, tells the story of Richard St. Barbe Baker's remarkable life and achievements. The 15-minute prequel film, Richard St. Barbe Barker Park, tells how the heritage documentary came to be. Both available on YouTube or SaskTel Max on demand, channels 46 and 346, and on the Friends of the Saskatoon Afforestation Area's YouTube channel. Next slide. Greetings for the documentary came internationally, and the entire presentation is also on YouTube. From roots in Saskatoon, Baker went on to inspire tree planting and forest protection around the world. The International Tree Foundation, which he founded in 1922, is still active in 14 countries. Countless people motivated by him are environmental champions today. Slide 3. A companion curriculum named the Richard St. Barbe Baker Stories describes his holistic worldview and his daring life of action on behalf of the earth. It is available for PDF download at friendsareas.ca. Appreciation extended to everyone locally and globally coming together in the creation of this commemorative education legacy project supporting the UN Sustainable Development Goals, Afforestation, a spectacular nature-based solution for climate action. Slide 4. Celebrates Saskatoon's hidden forest, the Richard St. Barbe Baker Afforestation Area, on its 50th anniversary. Discover 132 hectares of woodlands planted 50 years ago, nestled in the West Swale wetlands, now a diverse, semi-wild area to roam and enjoy. Learn about the fascinating life story of the pioneering global conservationist it is named after, as we also commemorate the 100th anniversary of the International Tree Foundation that he founded. So congratulations to that project. Our next project, mapping probable illegal dumping sites using remote sensing indices.
Thank you very much for providing this opportunity for me to present our research. So I'm Nima, a PhD candidate from Environmental Systems Engineering under the supervision of Dr. Kelvin Eng from Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science. So our project is mapping potential illegal dumping sites using satellite imagery. So as a literature review that we already go through it, we realized that waste dumping behaviors are complex and are strongly influenced by regulations and enforcement measures. And the management of this is a kind of like example from around the world. 9,000 tons of illegally dumping waste in 2011-2012 costed over $6 million US dollars in Australia. So basically we realized also that nighttime light satellite imagery can be an effective way in capturing remote communities. So at bottom left-hand side, you can see that we can capture the communities using the nighttime light satellite imagery, and at the right-hand side, you can see that I use our study area is located at the northern part of Saskatoon because we realized that we already have a major part of like reserve lands over there. So understanding and locating our remote communities there would be really interesting. So next slide. So as you can see here, I already extracted the satellite imagery. I used these to extract the remote communities at the left-hand side, and I mapped the illegal dumping sites over there. So our project covers 7 purposes of all those 17 SDGs, and the results of our research is already published at Journal of Waste Management. Thank you very much.
Great to see all those SDGs being used together in one project. I'd like to now invite Sask Outdoors Outdoor Learning Virtual Workshop.
Good morning. Sask Outdoors is a provincial outdoor and environmental education association. So we're used to doing things like this, where we're outside, running around, having fun. And then all of a sudden there was a pandemic, and we were kind of like, oh, we have to stay home. Teachers were looking for things to do, professional development. So we switched to the black faces way of doing outdoor environmental education. And so that's what we are being recognized for today with SDG number 4 about quality education. And so I'll get the next slide. We were able to take some of you, if you're in the education world, will recognize some of these logos and programs. So these are all programs that we help deliver workshops to teachers so that they have the skills to do activities with their students outside. So most of you maybe even have played the game Oh Dear. So that's from the project Wild Book. So we're used to We stand up, we pretend we're different parts of the habitat, and we run around and have some fun. So a big value for me in these is getting outside and moving around. So that was a challenge with moving online, but I think we were able to do it quite well by incorporating breaks, which we're going to do right now. I'm going to give you a little example. So there's an activity in Project Wild called Looking Closely. So it's about looking for nature where you are, or looking for small nature things. Those of us who are in person might have a bit of a challenge, but if you're watching virtually, I'm going to invite you to stand up, maybe look out your window, see if you can see a sign of nature. And those of us in this room, if you are interested or want to stretch your legs, I'll give you 30 seconds to stand up and tell someone near you a sign of spring that you have seen outside. So you have 30 seconds, go fast. So something we've really missed about the in-person workshops is the ability to connect and talk with other people. So we were able to do that in various ways in a virtual format, as you've all probably experienced of the next slide. And it's probably something that we will continue to do from Sask Outdoors. In 2019, we would never have thought we would deliver these programs virtually, but we've had great success in being able to reach more people who maybe can't travel to an in-person workshop. So by using this model of educating some people who then spread on the knowledge, we're able to spread the SDGs further through quality education. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Our next project, PET Peat, recycled plastic waste as concrete admixtures.
Your Honors, Elder Lorna standing ready. Colleagues and guests, good morning. I am Ramon Ricafort from Saskatchewan Polytechnic. I'll be talking about the project PET, Recycled Plastic Waste as Concrete Admixture. This is funded by the Office of the Applied Research and Innovations of Saskatchewan Polytechnic. A good example of PET are plastic water bottles, right? Okay, the objective of this experiment is to explore other ways of recycling used plastic PETs and convert it to a usable composite material that can either improve or substitute one of the components of concrete mix, thereby reducing the unwanted disposable of this kind. It can also be using less sand, which is one of the components of concrete, since it will be blended with a recycled hybrid PETs. The experimental mix design employed evaluated the effect of two factor variables: the quantity of coarse aggregate replaced as an admixture by PET fibers, and the performance of these admixtures to the overall compressive strength of the samples. The response variables measured were compressive strength only, and other mechanical properties of the concrete specimens prepared will be observed and studied at a later part. Whatever the outcome of the study, this will have a considerable impact in reducing the effect of plastics waste in the environment. So the procedure is very straightforward. So the raw material, we have the cleaned empty bottles. We shred it, we weigh, we put that in a group, we mixed, we casted that one on a as per CSA code, and then we test it and we analyze. Next, please. So the findings, there are variables in there. It's not so clear. The first is the optimal weight ratio were established with a plastic waste ratio of 0.4, 0.6, and 1.3%. So that the first four, because the first one is the controlled specimen. Okay. Second, one of the reasons for a low turnout of compressive strength value is the non-adhesion between the fibers and then the concrete paste matrix. Okay, so recommendation, next please. The first three fiber ratios can be used as an admixture for any type of structural concrete members, so beam, columns, and so on and so forth. The second one, the remaining ratio, the remainder fiber ratios shall be used as a non-structural concrete mix like pathways, sidewalks, and the like. Okay, there will be a future works for this, not only for compression test, but can be evaluated, but also other mechanical characteristics of hardened concrete, like shear strength, flexural strength, tensile strength, elastic modulus, etc. Number two, experiment with different kinds of fiber sizes and shapes. Lastly, conduct large batch samples to improve statistical correlations. Thank you very much.
Great. So our next project couldn't be here, so I will again just read what was submitted. This is Pollinator Paradise YXE. Greetings from Saskatoon, located on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis. We are honored and humbled to be able to live on this beautiful land. On behalf of Wild About Saskatoon and Pollinator Paradise YXE, thank you for this recognition award and congratulations to all recipients. Thank you for the marvelous work you all do. Pollinator Paradise YXE was initiated by Wild About Saskatoon in 2021 to encourage Saskatoon people to restore native plants into their city spaces, gardens, boulevards, public parks, alleyways, any place that plants can grow. Local native plants provide the best possible support for the hundreds of species of local native pollinators. In fact, they support the entire natural food web consisting of plants, insects, birds, and animals. Slide 2. We invite people to certify their native plantings as pollinator paradises by meeting set criteria, including growing at least 15 native flowering plants, ensuring nesting and wintering sites for pollinators, providing a water source, eliminating pesticides, and providing ongoing care. When people certify their gardens, they are eligible to receive our gorgeous Pollinator Paradise YXE sign to display on their site, helping to celebrate and promote the return of native plants. Slide 3. They can also join our community of native plant enthusiasts and receive notifications about garden tours and other opportunities, like sharing seeds and plants to meet like-minded people. To date, we have 49 paradises, including private residence, public parks, boulevard, gardens, educational sites, a restoration site, and a balcony garden. This year, we'll continue reaching out to local residents, community gardens, schools, and more. So congratulations to that project. So our next project is the Riversdale Community Fridge.
All right, thank you, everybody. So my name is Renata, and I am one of 5 founding members of the Riversdale Community Fridge. So I want to give a shout out to Juliana, Cleo, Nikayla, and Danielle, who couldn't be here today. So this idea started during our Environment and Sustainability class at the University of Saskatchewan. So Juliana and I talked about wanting to feed people in the core area of Saskatoon, and the community fridge is not a novel idea. You have a few in Regina, and they exist all over the world. Okay, so the idea was to have 2 goals. One is to feed people in the community, and to also reduce food waste in the community as well. So the community fridge it's an outdoor structure. It's located in a public space that is accessible 24/7. So our fridge is centrally located next to other community services. So we're located really close to the food bank, the Friendship Inn, and other food serving agencies in the community, so that we're easily accessible by those members. The structure is heated and insulated, so a lot of people ask us, well, how does the fridge run in the winter? We had our contractor really build it. The doors are like 100 pounds each, everything's super insulated, and there's a heater inside. So we do run on a mutual aid model. So our motto is solidarity, not charity, and we're 100% funded by the community. So far we've raised about $20,000, so that's monetary donations, and also anybody in the community is welcome to put food into the fridge at any time of day. So we have a lot of community members doing that without even telling us, and there's always food in the fridge. We have about 20 volunteers that clean the fridge multiple times a day. They do pickups for us, so we're ordering food from Flash Food app, and they're running, and constantly there's somebody at the fridge either stocking it or cleaning it. So we are also partnering with other food security groups. So Food Not Bombs is one of our partners, and they help us out a lot by delivering meals when we have an excess of donations that don't fit in the fridge. We also collaborate with the Food Bank, Salvation Army, Ronald McDonald House, Okeechobee Patrol Group, and many other nonprofits. We also have donations from private businesses, so we have a lot of restaurants and food service businesses in Riversdale, in Saskatoon, and they donate their food that doesn't sell by the end of the day. We also have a lot of student groups that have decided to volunteer or do fundraising for us. You can see in the top left there, that's a student nursing group, and they decided to make 400 sandwiches and bagged salads. Thank you. Okay, next. All right, so for sustainability, we have all of these SDGs. First of all, we just wanted to feed people. So this class, we said, yeah, we want zero hunger, but then kind of, directly or indirectly, we're also meeting these other goals as well. And so, like I said, we use the Flash Food app, and that's basically food that is about to expire and is significantly reduced, and we try to buy all of it from these stores, and using restaurants partnerships as well. So I have a quote here from one of our members. "I love how everyone is coming together in the community when it comes to this fridge, taking and giving. I try to do both whenever I can. This fridge has helped me and my partner to eat healthier. We are both diabetic and can't afford fresh vegetables and fruits." So thank you very much. I want to give a shout out to our Professor Colin, who nominated us for this award, because I had never heard of RCE until about two months ago. So this is our contact information. So it's Riversdale Community Fridge on all of our socials. Thank you so much.
Very good project. Our next project, again, I will read it because they aren't able to be here today, is Bike Regina's Pop-Up Bike Co-op. Bike Regina is a nonprofit cycling advocacy group whose mission is to make cycling fun and accessible for all ages and abilities. The project which earned the RCE Award is Pop-Up Bike Co-op. This was a weekly program held in Victoria Park in Regina every Saturday in July and August in 2021. The project achieves the UN SDGs of making cities more sustainable, which I think is goal 11. A bike co-op is a place where cyclists can come and learn how to repair and maintain their bikes. Next slide. The bike co-op is equipped with repair stands and specialty tools, which is perfect for anyone who owns a bike but doesn't have a home workstation for fixing bikes. And let's face it, nobody has that at home. Slide 3. Bike co-op is even more perfect for people who don't know the first thing about fixing bikes. The best part of bike co-op is the educational aspect. One of the Bike Regina board members loves to say, "Don't berate, educate." The bike co-op always has friendly volunteers who will teach people how to use the tools and repair stands. People can bring their bikes and whatever problems they're having, and Bike Regina will do best they can to help. Sometimes the problem is as simple as needing a bit of air in the tires. Sometimes a new part is required, like chains or cables. Bike Regina can help with that. Next slide. The pop-up bike co-op is planned for Victoria Park again this summer. Bike Regina's dream is to find a permanent home like Saskatoon's Bridge City Bike Co-op so that programming and hours of operation can be expanded. The pop-up bike co-op was made possible through a grant from the Government of Canada's Healthy Communities Initiative. Bike Regina is most grateful to HCI for this funding and is also grateful to the Saskatchewan Regional Centre of Expertise on Education for Sustainable Development for this award. So let's congratulate that project. All right, the next project, Sage Creek Prairie School.
Good morning, everyone. 6 years ago, my husband and I bought a 67-acre parcel of land just north of Swift Current. Most people thought we were crazy for buying a pasture with only a power box and something that kind of resembled a road. But as I stood on top of this hill where our house now sits, I didn't see just a pasture. I saw the opportunity to use one of the last remaining pieces of native prairie to take education and ecological awareness to a new level. My name is Kristen Simonson, and I have been in public education for 22 years, teaching biology, chemistry, outdoor education, and environmental science. I am no stranger to the roadblocks that exist to provide land-based and experiential learning to students in the public education system. I wish all senior administrators could see the type of magic that happens when young people are reconnected to the land. This is where a fundamental understanding of how the connections between water, soil, and atmosphere create our unique and disappearing mixed prairie ecosystem. The Sage Creek Prairie School was founded to provide a bridge between the theoretical knowledge that young people were learning inside of classrooms with the experiential knowledge of seeing these concepts in action out on the land. Instead of a research project on how watersheds channel and filter water, high school students were now out in the watershed documenting the health of riparian areas and identifying native and invasive species along our creek. Sage Creek didn't stop there. We became certified forest school practitioners and began offering forest school programming for preschool and elementary age children so that they too could play and learn in a native prairie setting. Starting a new program in the midst of a pandemic was a challenge, as many of you know. But in 2021, we offered a series of programs catering to children ages 3 to 18. Our forest school and Kids in the Coulee programs targeted preschool and elementary age children and allowed them to experience the prairie through exploration, creativity, and scaffolded risky play. Our bushcraft sessions were designed for our older children and involved opportunities to forage for wild edibles and useful plants, construct shelters, and read various nature signs, as well as using a variety of tools such as knives and axes. All of our children are involved in all aspects of our food forest, including permaculture, vermicomposting, beekeeping, and food security. It's constantly amazing to me how quickly all of our kids have begun paying more attention to the weather, the sounds of our resident great horned owl, to the seasons, the shapes and taste of Saskatoon berries, and the impact their actions have within a wild space. In just over a year, we have children who have now a sense of ownership and responsibility to protect their classroom and play space. And these children will become the adults that will choose how they will continue to influence their world. I can't help but think that if all children were to have this type of opportunity, that the shift towards a more sustainable future would be guaranteed. Thank you so much for this award, and congratulations to all the other recipients. Thank you.
Very good. The next project, Soil from Nothing, the effectiveness of biochar in soil reclamation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Leela Ben-Marouche, and I'm here with Saskatchewan Polytechnic to talk about our project, Soils from Nothing. Next slide, please. The Soils from Nothing project was initiated by our research partner, Reclaim-It, to address failures experienced while conducting reclamation work on oil sands leases in northwest Saskatchewan. The 6-month research project was funded by an NSERC Engage grant and was intended to take place over a single growing season. The Ministry of Highways aggregate lease near Hannon Creek Education and Research Camp facility at Candle Lake, Saskatchewan, was selected for its unique ability to mimic mineral soils commonly found on oil sands leases. Next slide, please. The experiment consisted of 600 jack pine seedlings equally distributed over 20 different plots, treated with one of 5 soil amendments, consisting of inoculated biochar, peat, hydromulch, chemical fertilizer, and a control plot, in addition to 4 surface enhancements consisting of woody debris, mycorrhizae, both woody debris and mycorrhizae, and a control plot. So the results after the first year were inconclusive. At the request of the industry partners AirTerra and Reclaim It, we elected to undertake 2 more years of research. The second year really began to demonstrate the growth advantage of the biochar treatment. Next slide, please. By year 3, the superior growth characteristics of the biochar treatment also extended into the soil characteristics. So you'll notice in this slide the lichens and the composition of the soil core sample here. So biochar offers a tremendous opportunity to replenish soils affected by industrial disturbance, and the results of this study have led to additional research now being conducted on oil sands leases in Alberta. Last slide, please. I also want to point out the contributions of 11 different students that worked on the project and contributed in many ways that can't all be highlighted in this presentation. I also want to thank the RCE for the recognition and acknowledgement of this research. Thank you guys so much for having us here today.
Thank you. Very good. Our next project, solar-driven treatment system for agricultural dugout water quality improvements.
All right, so hello everyone. Our project topic is on the design of a solar-driven mobile water treatment system for agricultural dugout water. My name is Batty, and today me and my partners Shuria, Johannes, and our professor Dr. Schwer will be here to represent our team for this presentation. First, Shuria will take us through the project background.
So, next slide, please. So we wanted to design a solar-powered water treatment system that will not only clean water for livestock, but also for farmers and their families. We found out that Saskatchewan, being an agricultural state, has a lot of farms that have dugouts, and these farmers use those dugout water to feed livestock at their farm. A common cause, as you can see from these news articles, for reduced level of production or even cattle toxicity has been the presence of harmful contaminants like nitrates, sulfates, etc. So we want to design a water treatment system that would tackle these problems and help improve the cattle life and even the farmers' life themselves. Badi will go over the design and some benefits. Next.
All right, so the design is initiated by a submerged pipe with a submerged pump, within the dugout, taking water through a screening vent and then through treatment with activated carbon adsorption and ultrafiltration. Then at this point, the user has the decision either to discharge the clean effluent into a trough or into the dugout for livestock use, or direct some of the flow to a UV disinfection vessel for further treatment so the water can be usable by humans. Next, some of the benefits, next slide. Some of the benefits include improvements to livestock health and performance, as well as environmental benefits for the surrounding wildlife and ecosystem. And Shuria will go over the...
So just to conclude our presentation, next slide please. Here are the some SDGs that will directly or indirectly influence our project. We wanted to address most of these, and we've quite talked about like most of these, like clean water, good health, and economic benefits and stuff. But we wanted to also build something that could be modified and used. Hence the inclusion of inequality, the SDG number 10. We wanted to build a unit that could be modified and used to feed smaller communities as well, where maybe developing a full-scale water treatment plant is not feasible, or it's just not a good idea because of the costs and everything. So yeah, that was our project, to mainly help farmers earn a greater revenue and improve their health of their cattle, livestock, and their families as well. And we thank RCE for awarding us, and thanks for Dr. Xu for helping us through this project over the last few months. Thank you.
Great, and great to see a project focusing on well-being of livestock and all these other goals. Fantastic. The next project, Calling Lakes Eco Museum. We love our lakes, tire cleanup.
Good morning. My name is Rick Vigras. I'm a member of Calling Lakes Eco Museum, or CLEM. And this is Aurelie Mcpherson, who's with me, who's the chairperson. This project, as you can see, I feel kind of guilty accepting the award because it's so much fun. You're out on the lake on a beautiful day like today, the water's calm, the ducks are swimming by with their families, there's a beaver, a muskrat, a mink along the shore. And so I'm kayaking along there, and I'm finding some garbage. This is at Katepa Lake, and you know, most of the lake is pretty clean, but sometimes things get away from people. There's plastic, there's little bait boxes that float up on the shore. I picked up a plastic lawn chair, and then I noticed tires all along the shore that weren't being used. So they were basically litter. So I started picking them up with my kayak, and Orly had a friend take this photo. And the photo pretty much sums up what the project is. Tires are bad for the lake, they're bad for water. 10% of microplastics in the ocean are caused by tires. Tire dust from our roads is being noticed in the Arctic. The wind is carrying it up to the Arctic. There's a project with tire runoff from roads that's killing salmon. So tires are bad. Now, I'm a retired engineer, so I will tell you also that tires are good because you can't live the way you do without tires. But engineering isn't everything. I've really enjoyed the projects today, but we need to do more than engineering. We need to have the whole picture in mind. Okay, next slide. So part of this project, other than me picking them up on the shore, was to convince other cottage owners to take their tires off their docks, because that's one way the tires get in the lake, is they fall off the docks. So Clem had this art brochure put together by children, and it was quite effective. If you can imagine me coming up to a young man and telling him to take his tires off the dock, you can imagine what the response would be. But if I give him this brochure and say the children want you to take your tires off the dock, a totally different response, and I was successful with that. So that's the education component. Okay, next slide. Now this is my last slide, and this is ongoing work. One of the fishers on the lake sent us this scan. This shows tires on the bottom of the lake in 5 feet of water over a short area. I took that, multiplied it by all the cottages around our lake, and figured there's about 5,000 tires on the bottom of Katepa Lake. That's not a good situation, but for someone like me that recycles tires, I've got a lot of years of work ahead of me. I did run into a fellow with his pontoon boat who, when the water's calm and he can see the tires, he takes a hook and he can hook them and then pull them up with his boat. So we plan to do that this summer, go out and do that on a nice day and pick some tires out of the lake. So thank you for the award, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you so much for doing all that work. The next project couldn't be here in person, so again I'll read what they've submitted. This is the Saskatoon Zoo Society Species at Risk Program. First slide. We're honored to be part of RCE Saskatchewan's ESD Awards and are disappointed not to be able to join today, as our team is busy with many classrooms visiting us at the zoo. Next slide. The Saskatoon Zoo Society was established in 1976 to provide educational opportunities based around the wildlife of the city-owned Saskatoon Forestry Farm, Park and Zoo. As a separate entity from the zoo itself, we work closely with the zoo staff and animals to provide environmental education programs that foster respect for nature. We are committed to educate the youth of today to be the leaders of a sustainable planet tomorrow. Next slide. We wanted to develop a program that gave students the opportunity to think critically about sustainability and our human impacts on our environment and natural habitats of wildlife with a Saskatchewan focus. Our educators, Kathleen Zeri and Kathy Barch, developed the Species at Risk program for grades 7 and 8 students By matching curriculum outcomes, prioritizing educational content that foster respect for, involved real-time animal interactions, enabled students and educators to think critically and have meaningful pre- and post-program discussions, and incorporated Indigenous-focused content. In this live, interactive, online, or on-site program, we discuss the importance of biodiversity and a healthy environment, not just for other animals, but for the survival of the human species. Why does Saskatchewan have so many species at risk, and what can we do to help? We look at the changes in the Saskatchewan landscape and how human interactions affect wildlife. It includes a live online visit with our animal ambassadors, the domestic ferrets, which we compare to Saskatchewan's most endangered mammal, the black-footed ferret. The program also explores modern-day conservation and reintroduction programs. The classroom program is then complemented by an on-site or video tour of the zoo with a focus on other species at risk, such as the grizzly bears, swift fox, and black-tailed prairie dogs. The Species at Risk program also includes support for accompanying teachers. Next slide. This program supports the SDG 15, Life on Land. Since its development in 2021, we have offered 110 species at risk classes, reaching more than 2,500 students and 111 educators. With the transition to virtual programming, we were able to visit classrooms across the province. We are thankful for our partnerships with school divisions and supporters, TD Friends of the Environment, South Saskatchewan Community Foundation, and SaskTel, for supporting the program and making it more accessible for teachers and classrooms. Thanks to these partnerships, we were able to offer 110 programs at no cost to classrooms, teachers, or students. Last slide. We have received 100% positive feedback from our teachers. Here we provide a quote from one educator. This is from March 2022. This was a fantastic program. Not only did it touch on native species, endangered species, Saskatchewan fauna, the Saskatoon Zoo Society included the natural history of the prairies, the historical use of bison by First Nations groups living here, the Métis people, and the push for settlement when Saskatchewan was formed. Then they brought it back to how these events affected the native species and the importance of the biodiversity to maintain the balance within the ecosystem. We are continuing to offer species at risk programs on site at the zoo and virtually to students across Saskatchewan. We are now working on developing a complementary endangered species program for grades 4 to 6. For educators interested in learning more about our programs, please visit our website, saskatoonzoosociety.ca. We are proud of our work, fostering respect for nature. Our goal is to show students that life is all connected, individual actions matter, and collectively we can make a difference. We are honored to be recognized alongside the many sustainability achievements honored today. So congratulations to that project. The next project, web engineering, the projects and profiles on RCE Saskatchewan website.
Hello, I'm Carissa, and I'm on the communications team for the RCE Saskatchewan website.
Hello again, I'm Priya from the University of Regina in the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science. So before we begin, again, thank you to RCE Saskatchewan for this event. And we are presenting today on the behalf of University of Regina and Dr. Tim McKeag, a lecturer in software system engineering and technology lead for the RCE Saskatchewan website. Again, he apologizes for not being here today.
We are going to talk about a collaboration between the software systems engineering students at the U of R and RCE Saskatchewan. Tim, being a lecturer in software systems engineering, is always on the lookout for ways to enable such collaborations on course projects. He is also particularly interested in facilitating learning opportunities where students can explore the wider societal implications of the technologies they put out in the world. Tim feels this falls under UN SDG number 4, quality education, giving software engineering students real-world experiences by working with a real customer on a real problem, as well as learning about the UN SDGs and the RCE network to hopefully guide their engineering work in academia and beyond. With the new RCE Saskatchewan website fresh off the presses, one area that still needed some improvement was the profiles and project page highlighting the good work being done around the province on education for sustainable development.
In the winter 2022 semester that just ended at University of Regina, Tim taught a graduate software system engineering class titled as Usability Research and Engineering. In the class, Tim facilitated the collaboration between software system engineering graduate students and the RCE Saskatchewan to explore the new design of projects and profile page on the RCE Saskatchewan website. I was me and they are my colleagues, we were the students of the team's course.
And I was the customer for the project. So pictured here is the current profiles and project page. As you can see, there is some content, but it's not all inclusive. It's also a long bulleted scrolling list. We thought there was room for improvement.
So throughout the team's course, we learned about the topics in people-centric design. As you can see on the right side, the process which is called the fast feedback cycle. We use this process to work with Krista to iteratively propose the new design ideas. In the 5 team of 4 students, we explore the redesigning of the profiles and projects page. Throughout the learning activity, we learned about designing user-friendly experiences, how to work with a customer, as well as about the UN SDGs and RCE's network. When all was said and done, there were 5 different designs proposed.
So seen here are a couple of screenshots of student-designed prototypes. As you can see from the 2 screenshots, many student teams focused on how to highlight projects using advanced search ideas, but also used interesting visuals to help emphasize the good work being done locally. In Tim's words, reflecting on the experience, it was clear that students learned a great deal about designing and developing user-friendly technologies, but also learned about the importance of education for sustainable development, the UN SDGs, and how to build and grow local ESD knowledge accordingly. The future plan is for the RCE Sask to reflect on all of the designs that the students proposed and explore how we can improve the profiles and projects page based on student input. Work here is still progressing.
So reflecting on the experience, we learned a great deal about designing and developing technologies in support of promoting local efforts to address the UN's SDGs. So again, it was a great experience for us. These are the names of the team members who have contributed in the designing. Lastly, again, I would like to thank RCE Saskatchewan on the behalf of the team for providing the recognition of our project. Thank you.
And thank you for helping out RCE Saskatchewan. Okay, the next project, Wild Outside Regina and Wild Outside Saskatoon and the Canadian Wildlife Federation.
Good morning. My name is Jory, and I'm a youth leadership specialist with the Wild Outside program. I'm joined here by my colleague Erin, and we're joined virtually by our 2 colleagues in Saskatoon. We'd like to thank the RCE, RSM, Elders Standing Ready, and our other hosts and collaborators for this event and for this recognition. So Wild Outside is a national conservation-based youth leadership program run by the Canadian Wildlife Federation. It's designed for youth ages 15 to 18. It's free of charge and open to all, regardless of economic, physical, or other barriers. The program currently operates in 14 Canadian cities and is steadily growing. These include Regina, where we have 42 youth registered, and Saskatoon, where there are 65 youth registered. Next slide. Youth who join the Wild Outside program enjoy opportunities for outdoor adventure and immersive nature experiences. They also connect with other local participants in the planning and delivery of community-based conservation service projects designed to have a positive impact on their local environment. In the past year, Wild Outside youth in Saskatchewan have participated in several service projects, including invasive species removal, barbed wire fence removal, creating sage-grouse fence markers, native plant gardening, building birdhouses and bat boxes, and much more. Through these service projects and other outdoor activities, participants have learned about plant and animal identification, Indigenous ways of knowing, politics and environmental decision-making, mental health and nature, and much more. Both the Saskatoon and Regina groups have strong community partnerships with other environmental organizations, and without them, many of our events wouldn't be possible. Okay. Awesome. Wild Outside is helping to inspire groups of young people to become interested in conservation, informed about environmental issues, active participants in the protection of biodiversity and natural spaces. The activities and service projects that we organize build capacity for young people to realize their own passions within the field of conservation and become lifelong advocates for environmental sustainability. Thank you.
Our next project is coming in virtually, and this is the Zestykit's Food Footprint Reduction Program.
Good morning, bonjour. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Catherine Baudouin, and I'm co-founder of Zestykit. I will briefly go over what Zestykit is and its mission, and then I'll explain what our food footprint reduction program entails. So next slide. Zestykit is a ready-to-cook meal service. We empower our clients and the general public to discover the best of Saskatchewan through their kitchen. Zestykit's ready-to-cook meals all feature Saskatchewan-grown products. Our foundational value is to grow Saskatchewan's food ecosystem while reducing the environmental impact of food in Saskatchewan's household. Zestykit's service area includes a majority of Saskatchewan. My sister Annie and I founded Zestykit. As such, Zestykit is a family-owned as well as woman-owned and operated business. Zestykit's food footprint, let's go to the next slide. Yeah. Zestykit's food footprint reduction program includes two major components. The first component is pre-portioned, ready-to-cook meals, which provides hands-on learning to our clients. The second component is educational material for the general public. This includes online learning material through blogs, videos, as well as radio and television interviews. The educational component topics include food waste reduction and information about local farmers and producers. The purpose of the program is to encourage clients, as well as the general public, to reduce food waste and gain an understanding of the stories of Saskatchewan farmers and producers. We invite you to actively contribute to Saskatchewan's food future by joining our growing community and following us on social media at Zestykit on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I want to thank the RCE team and a special thank you to Kurt Schroeder for the information about the award, as well as Margaret Asmus for her coordinating efforts. If you have any questions or would like to discuss sustainable foods, you can reach me or Zestykit on social media or by email. Thank you.
Okay, as we have now completed all but two of our awards, it is now my pleasure to move on in our program to the presentation of the Future Generations Award, awarded in memory of Lyle Bankel. As many of you are aware, Lyle Bankel, a former co-coordinator of RCE Saskatchewan, passed away in February of 2016. Lyle was part of the RCE community since its very beginning, having helped lead the creation of RCE Saskatchewan starting in the summer of 2005. Lyle was also a terrific friend, colleague, and mentor. I would like to invite Sukhvinder Singh, representing the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Saskatchewan, or APEGS, and who is also a mechanical engineer at Sask Power, to present the Lyle Bankel Future Generations Award to this year's worthy recipient. I should also note that APEGS is a silver-level sponsor of our event this year and has always taken a keen interest in sustainable development and the work of RCE Saskatchewan. I would also invite Mr. Singh to join the photo taken with the award recipient when that occurs. So please come forward.
First, I would like to bring greetings from APEX to the Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, Elder Lorna Standing Grady, and I will congratulate to all the Sustainability Award winners. Today, I am honored to be presenting this award in the memory of Lyle Bankel, and as well as representing the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Saskatchewan. Out of all the applications submitted for the RCE Recognition Award, one is selected for the Lyle Bankel Future Generation Award. This award recognizes a K-12 project that demonstrates an outstanding contribution to education for sustainable development in Saskatchewan. This award was created by the RCE Saskatchewan in grateful recognition of Lyle Bankel, who passed away in February 2016. Lyle was a founding co-coordinator of RCE and was very passionate about leaving future generations a more sustainable world and was an inspiration to many in the field of education. Lyle was also a long-time volunteer with the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Saskatchewan, who I represent here today. Lyle was honored in 2013 as the first recipient of the Friends of the Professions Award by our association. As a volunteer member of the Apex Environment and Sustainability Committee, I am pleased to be presenting this award. Since childhood, I've been passionate about sustainability. We used to have scarcity of basic resources like water and electricity. In the early age, I learned the importance of conserving resources for future use. After I moved to Saskatchewan, I have witnessed firsthand how seriously we take environmental concerns, such as clean drinking water and nesting season restrictions. Also, flawless waste management, while local government needs to be applauded as well. I believe understanding the bond between us and the nature would contribute greatly to sustainability goals. This land-based learning project clearly achieves the objectives of connecting the students with the ecosystem. I would like to conclude with a famous quote by Mahatma Gandhi: "The earth has enough resources for our needs, but not for our greed." And now I would like to invite the Ecole Centennial Land-Based Learning Project team to tell us more about their project.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Thank you to Elder Lorna standing ready for your wonderful prayers and words. Thank you to all the sponsors, speakers, and award recipients. What an amazing job RCE does to recognize sustainability and achievement throughout Saskatchewan. My name is Larissa Garner, and this is Jeff Wisniewski, and our other partner, Jeff Capo. We're not going to make him speak today, because he'll just keep talking and talking and talking. Sorry. We are honored and humbled to receive the Lyle Bankel Award. Lyle's favorite quote was that we can serve what we love what we understand, and we will understand what we are taught. I thought this echoes loudly of what we're doing at École Centennial for the land-based learning program. This program came from the idea of wanting to do more with physical education and Indigenous games, but soon grew into a cross-curricular program centered around land-based learning and First Nations teachings. We began in September with a mini treaty day, where we learned about treaties, First Nations storytelling, building teepees and what the teepees symbolized, and the staff even had a traditional pipe ceremony as we set up a teepee together. Super cool setting up a teepee as a staff. Right away, we knew we had something special here. All of our students and staff were engaged and eager to participate. The program did indeed evolve into just more than playing some Indigenous games. We are building it in collaboration with First Nations elders, knowledge keepers, as well as working with SUNTEP students. This gives us the opportunity to be authentic in our teachings. Next slide.
This year, our focus has been a grade 6 French immersion class as we pilot this program. However, we did include other classes when opportunities arose. For example, we had an elder visit 4 different classrooms where she shared First Nation stories with younger students and spoke openly about her experiences at residential school with the older grades. With the support received on our pilot program, we are looking forward to expanding the program to a grade 4 class at École Centennial School next year. We are in the planning phase of building partnerships to bring the program to more students. Our vision is to see land-based learning taught in some way or some manner in all schools.
The theme of our land-based program is broken down into 4 seasons, with the main focus on good health and well-being, quality education. Okay, I'm still learning Cree classes, so just give me a second here. Wakotawin, and our partnerships.
Good health and well-being has shown that being in natural environments is essential for our children's development of core skills, including observation, problem solving, and reasoning, categorization, creativity, imagination, risk identification, along with emotional and intellectual development. Next slide. Partnerships has brought the following organizations together: Regina Public Schools, Saskatchewan Urban Native Teacher Education Program, or SUNTEP, First Nations University, Muscopheating First Nation, the Board of Trustees, and Nature Saskatchewan.
Wakotawin teaches us that harmony and culture are defined and woven into connections one has on the land. It has given Indigenous students opportunity to re-engage with their language and culture. Furthermore, it gives the non-Indigenous students opportunity to learn about Indigenous cultures and is another way of moving forward with reconciliation. We are all treaty people. Oh, we just started this program this year, so coming soon.
We do our teachings based on the medicine wheel, and as you can see, we have received positive feedback. For example, generosity. The program has taught, or a parent has said, this program has taught my child to respect Indigenous culture. Mastery. My child is excited about going to school and sharing their experiences of what they have learned on the land. Belonging. The grade 6 class, or my classroom, is often found on the playground playing cooperative games together, and as a result, they have created a positive classroom community. Interdependence. Students are engaged this year, which is great. It makes our job so much easier. And as well, attendance is up. On days when the school buses are canceled, my class has full attendance. And as well, staff are also incorporating more Indigenous content into their teaching practices.
And finally, before we leave, we would like to extend our sincere gratitude to those whom have helped us with this program. Thank you, Jeff Capo, he's our behind-the-scenes guy. Lisa Fry, superintendent. Vinaya Sear, is that right? Good. Mario Levesque, my principal. Rochelle Rugg, our VP. Lacey Weeks, board of trustee, and she nominated us, so thank you. Our elders, Knowledge Keeper, my husband for putting up with my crazy hours and my crazy ideas. Our partners, SUNTEP, Muscopheating First Nations, and the entire ACOL Centennial community of parents, staff, and you can't forget our fantastic students, so thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a fantastic project, and congratulations on your accomplishment. And congratulations around Goal 17. It's at the bottom of that poster there, but Partnership for the Goals really shows, this project really demonstrates how that made it possible. We have one last award to make this morning, the Dr. Garth Pickard Award for Post-Secondary Excellence in Education for Sustainable Development. This award is being made in honor of Dr. Garth Pickard, who passed away in November of 2020. Garth was also a founding member of RCE Saskatchewan, a beloved academic colleague from the University of Regina's Faculty of Education, and an outdoor education enthusiast. I would like to invite Muthana Zuri, Dean for the School of Business and the School of Information and Communications Technology at Saskatchewan Polytechnic, to present the Garth Pickard Award to our worthy recipient. Saskatchewan Polytechnic is also a gold sponsor of this year's event and has made important commitments to advance the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. I would also invite Mr. Zuri to join the photo taken with the award recipients.
Thank you. I'm humbled to present this award honoring Dr. Garth Pickard, who passed away in November of 2020. Dr. Pickard was a driving force for this organization and for sustainability across this province. I know his legacy will endure for many years to come. The Garth Pickard Award was created to recognize a project led by an individual or a group of academics, students, and/or staff at a post-secondary education institution in Saskatchewan, and who shows innovation and excellence in education for sustainable development. This year's winner is Dr. Sarah Abbott, Associate Professor, Department of Film, Faculty of Media, Art, and Performance at the University of Regina. Dr. Abbott's project is called Engaging Climate Change, Creativity, Community, Intervention. This is a multidisciplinary course which explores climate change and environmental concerns with a focus on sustainability, resilience, community, Indigenous perspectives, science, non-human awareness, artist engagement, local global projects, and thinking outside the box in the face of change, innovation, and action. Congratulations, Dr. Abbott.
Tanshe, Ola. Again, it's really wonderful to be here. Thank you very much for the wonderful introduction to the Garth Pickard Award and my work with this class. I am doubly and very honored that my class is being recognized with an Education for Sustainable Development Recognition Award, and that it was selected for the Garth Pickard Award for Post-Secondary Excellence in Education for Sustainable Development. It is actually an amazing surprise to be up here because it was 3 years ago, almost exactly, that I conceived of the class, which has been a passion project to empower youth with a knowledge and space for their climate concerns. I want to thank Ray Staceyson, former Dean of the Faculty of Media, Art and Performance, also known as MAP, for saying yes to me creating the class, to MAP and University of Regina faculty for additional support, and to all the students who took the class for bravely engaging the profoundly challenging realities of the climate crisis on top of the hardships of the pandemic. Engaging climate change, creativity, community intervention is a multidisciplinary course exploring climate change and environmental concerns in relation to sustainability, resilience, community, Indigenous perspectives, science, non-human awareness, eco-anxiety, artist engagements, youth activism, and local and global projects. I developed and taught the class 3 times through MAP between winter 2020 and fall 2021. The course is open to undergraduate and graduate students, master's and PhD from any discipline. Assignments can be applied, hands-on community engagements, and/or artistic explorations of course themes in conjunction with student interests. In addition to providing post-secondary student learning, the course content and student works produced public events and materials that are now freely available online for public education and inspiration. Some of the students' work is in this slideshow. Several expert guests visited the class, and the students thoroughly appreciated interacting with and learning from them. My and our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Margot Hurlbert, Canada Research Chair in Climate Change, Energy and Sustainability Policy at the U of R's Johnson Shoyama Graduate School of Public Policy, for discussing current climate science and IPCC processes and reports. Michelle Brass, member of Yellow Quill First Nation and Indigenous Climate Action, for sharing about Indigenous understandings and approaches to living with respectful, ongoing relations with the land and all beings, colonialism, climate concerns, and food security. Cameron Essler, organizer and educator with the David Suzuki Foundation, for leading a workshop on integrating personal stories with climate messaging. Sue Deranger, Wendy Larat, Terry Sleva, and Florence Stratton, members of Mother Earth Justice Advocates, for their deep reflections on mindful care, equity, and respect for the land and all non-human and human beings, colonial impacts, and climate activism. Amy Snyder, for sharing information about Regina's Enviro Collective organization, and Kate Yoder, for reflecting on writing as a youth for the online climate change magazine, Grist. Thinking outside the box is another class theme that challenges students to think differently, to question and to act beyond personal and societal comfort zones, habits, and systems. We are also regularly checking in on our constantly shifting place on the continuum of hope and despair that comes with deepening understandings of the causes, activism, and impacts of climate change. Through the class, the students deepened their awareness of the interconnection of all life, organic and inorganic, on the planet, and the interconnected facets of climate change. Students were empowered to think critically and speak on issues of climate change, made personal, sustainable life changes, initiated conversations with family and friends, incorporated tools for personal resilience, took public action, and got involved in community initiatives. Some students indicated the course was, quote unquote, life-changing. I could talk your ears off about the wide variety of work and personal growth the students reflected back to me, but I'd like to leave you with the words from one of the students. He could not be here today and has given me permission to read his poem. Heal the World by Audubon James. Heal the world, Michael Jackson said. Make it a better place. Sometimes I wonder if we heard him, because with all the pollution going on, it makes me contemplate. Why has it taken us so long to see that the earth we live in is in a depleting state? We take and we take without a thought or debate. We poisoning the earth just to put some more food in our plate. Now we want to up and leave to Venus or Mars, trying to replicate. But I promise you, this world that we live in, it ain't ours to duplicate. So how can we leave it for our children and our children's children? Not even knowing what's going to be left or even knowing what's at stake. USA Today says by 2070, 1/3 of plants and animal species will go extinct. The world will be so different. The change would be so distinct. But we wouldn't be there to witness it, so what do we care if it stinks? But is that fair to the being we call Mother Earth? She has given us so much. The food we eat, the air we breathe, and everything we have and needed to live since birth. And this is how we repay her? By destroying and neglecting her? I hope we can all wake up and fix the mess we've made. Attention, all humans, it's time to do your part. Time to give back to the earth who gave you from her heart. We only got one shot at life, so don't throw it in the dark. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abbott, for presenting today on a wonderful course and also for sharing from your heart. Garth would have been so pleased to hear about your work, especially the course's development at the University of Regina. He would have been excited about that too. Okay, it is now my pleasure to invite His Honor, the Honorable Russ Morasti, our Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, to receive a gift from RCE Saskatchewan. I would also invite Dr. Glenn Suter of the Royal Saskatchewan Museum to make the presentation. And following the presentation, I invite His Honor to return to the audience to view our keynote address.
Very, very happy to thank His Honor for the time he's put in to help us recognize all these wonderful awards. And to do that, we'll be presenting him with this wonderful limited edition art piece, which is based on our new home exhibit. And it's a stylized home. If you get close, you can read the letters. It was done by, it's a collaborative piece done by Jade Gooden, who also goes by the artist name Wiswun. He's a wonderful Métis artist who's actually done some of the artwork in the home gallery. You'll see it in there, the wonderful Mother Earth image, as well as Sticks and Doodles, who does this wonderful low relief sculpting. And I've been told to say that there are copies of this available in the gift shop if you want to pick it up. But you don't have to pay. This is our thank you to you, Your Honor.
Each year, the RCE ESD recognition event has an educational component built around a theme chosen by the hosting organization. This year's chosen theme, in keeping with the new exhibit at the Royal Saskatchewan Museum, is Educating for Sustainable Development in the Anthropocene. I would now like to call upon Dr. Charles Hopkins to give today's virtual keynote address on this theme. Dr. Charles Hopkins is a good friend of RCE Saskatchewan who has had a live or virtual presence at most of our RCE Saskatchewan recognition events. Dr. Hopkins is a UNESCO Chair in Reorienting Education Towards Sustainability at York University in Toronto, Canada, and has developed an international network of teacher preparation institutions spanning over 70 countries focused upon teacher education to address sustainable development. His knowledge and experience with ESD is vast, and he has acted to advise UNESCO, the UN University, the International Association of Universities, and countless RCEs on best strategies for advancing the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. It is truly my pleasure to welcome Chuck Hopkins.
Thank you very much for the warm introduction and the welcome. In keeping with the tone and the respect for the Indigenous wisdom and perspective, let me begin with York University's acknowledgement of land and tradition. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Takaranto has been cared for by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It's now home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. So, my thanks to RCE Saskatchewan co-chairs, Margaret Asmuth and Roger Petrie, for inviting me once again to take part in these awards ceremonies. I can't believe it's number 14. But this approach to annually recognizing the many community initiatives that are happening to create a better Saskatchewan for all is really pretty unique in the RCE world, and I congratulate you. And I thank the sponsors as well as those who created, those of you who conducted these many projects. Congratulations to all the award winners. It is so impressive. Yeah. Thanks also to the Royal Saskatchewan Museum for hosting the awards ceremony this year. I really wish I could be there to take part in it. I've been to many of the previous awards ceremonies, and I certainly have been through the museum on several occasions. I wish I could be there to actually see this wonderful exhibit on home life in the Anthropocene. Congratulations to Dr. Glenn Suter, Glenn. And I'm intrigued and looking forward to hearing this Songs for Nature program of the museum. I'm also so happy that we're now able to recognize two giants of the RCE Saskatchewan history, two of the key founders, with Lyle, Bankel and Garth Pickard, and for them to be remembered. I'll never forget Lyle's his way of engaging people. He would simply say, "I wonder if you," and you were automatically thinking. And then the other aspect of Lyle, who was when we would be trying to contact people, he'd say, "Oh, I'll give them a call. I know them." I really think that it was Lyle's knowing everyone who lives in Saskatchewan or whoever lived in Saskatchewan. That's part of the secret of the wonderful presence of RCE Saskatchewan and the success in establishing it. And the same too with Garth Pickard, his analogy of life being a canoe trip. Sometimes still waters, often rapids, and shooting them. And his saying, whenever of going to get resources or to get to move RCE Saskatchewan forward, he would always say, "Well, let me go poke the bear," and it still brings a smile to my face. So thank you for honoring these two giants. Now let me put up my my slides for today, and let me get on and sort of introduce things. If you So the exhibit today, Home Life in the Anthropocene, I'm sure when you go through it, the exhibit itself will undoubtedly explain the term Anthropocene and will delve into its origin and the concepts and so on that are behind it. Our work in the RCEs is more about the role of education, public awareness, understanding, and so on, and with a focus on sustainable development. So I've been asked to say a few words about ESD, or Education for Sustainable Development, in the Anthropocene. So so let me move on then and start with my first slide. The commonality, the link between it, is more around this idea of answering the global challenge of how we can collaboratively work together to create global systems, and that's plural, that on the one hand, it enables all of humanity to thrive equitably, but at the same time, make certain that the Earth itself has the resilience to support all other life forms and the capacity to support future generations. Now, this is a huge challenge that's going on, and our current solution is sustainable development. It is development that meets the needs of the current generation without making it impossible for future generations. But inherent in that is that it should not just be about humans. And that's where I think the link through to the Anthropocene is, sorry. That's where this link through to the Anthropocene concern that humans as a species are making huge impact on the planet, and it may imperil the future of other forms of life and certainly future generations of human. So when you are going through the exhibit, you will probably see these concerns with population in places where it's exceeding the carrying capacity, and it's very hard to see. If you're living on this last one and using marginal lands, you can see it. But when you are in the center of Toronto, Regina, Saskatoon, if you're in the city of Mumbai or Paris, you really don't see your ecological footprint and what it is that is doing. So these are some of the concerns that we have around human impact, which is sort of at the heart of this whole thing of the understanding human impact in the concept of the Anthropocene. Now, if you look at the diagrams on the right, it's hard to understand the scale and the carrying capacity of the planet. So I love this one from the National Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution that's showing planet Earth. That bubble, there are two bubbles if you look carefully, but the large bubble is the salt water. That's all the water in proportion on the planet of the Earth. And the tiny bubble is all of the fresh water, not only in lakes and rivers, but in the atmosphere, in the clouds and so on, and below ground. It is amazing for us to try and get some sort of sense of the overall fragility of the planet. And on the top, we're showing our different aspects to development, from the hunter-gatherer through to agricultural areas, the industrial era, and then through to our current era and where we are headed with all, for instance, in all computers hooked together, working and feeding back the information they think we need to know, and so on. The balance between us. So it's so important that we understand the impact of humans upon the planet. Even back in the 1970s, the first idea of looking at human impact, what causes it? How is it facilitated? What direction is it going on? All of these are extremely important things. And how can we even begin to measure this? So the idea then of its population size, it's the lifestyle of people, their affluence, it's the technology that they use. Do you use a wheelbarrow, or do you look at some of the huge earth movers from the oil sands? So it depends on the technology that we use. Then if we look at this in the impact around climate change, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has come out with their formulas about impact and so on. And then if we look at the last one, it's population in its habitat. It's about technology, but it's about over time. Is it simply one incident, or how long does this go on for? How long do we think it's going to go on for? And in the whole thing, the idea of what is our concept of what is well-being, right? It's current well-being for all. And so it's sort of another take on the idea of affluence. And so these are aspects that I think will be very important as you go through it. But not only do we understand that there are impacts, but there are risks associated with these impacts. Every year, the World Economic Forum goes and it produces what it sees as the big global risks, and it puts it out in a landscape. Now in 2020, their diagram showed that wherever the closest to the center was the most important, and the other things around the periphery was important, but not as much. So if we pick out two, they had climate change right in the center there, along with social instability and involuntary migration. On the outside was more around infectious diseases, right? But to show you how things change, the next year when it came out, now you see infectious diseases right up on the top. Now they changed their scale. The scale the next year showed across the bottom, the horizontal, was the likelihood of something happening. So on the left, little likelihood of it happening. To the right, where it was very likely. And the same with the vertical scale is impact. If it does happen, what would be the impact? So going from low to high. And you can see in that the highest impact and likelihood to happen up in the top right, still climate change, but now you have COVID and infectious diseases. All of these things are interrelated, and of course we need to understand why is it happening, how much is happening, how does it really address us, and that the idea of risks can change. So the study of impact, not only past, present, but on into the future, and likelihood of projecting this kind of Anthropocene behavior, human-centered behavior, is important. Now, usually we take three different approaches to dealing with it. And one of them is education, public awareness, and understanding. Right? What we refer to as ESD. Now, the first aspect of it is, yes, access and retention with quality education throughout one's entire life. It's important. Without a knowledgeable and informed society, we won't have any chance of proper development, right? But the second aspect is recognizing it's our most educated countries that are creating some of the greatest impacts upon the planet and creating some of the greatest threats. This concept of this world being here for us to use and to take advantage of, that is a large part of our current education system, is how can I thrive within the system that is here? So the second part is the need of reorienting existing education and training systems to create this more sustainable future. And at the heart of this all is having a knowledgeable general public awareness, understanding of the concept, understanding of what we're doing and what needs to be done. And where we do know how to do things better, how do we come up with training programs? There are three main aspects of what we try to do with impact and understanding it. One is prevention. How can we stop it from happening? The other is the idea of mitigation, reducing the impact in some way. And the third way, of course, is adaptation. How can we smoothly move into this new setting? So all of this is part of education for sustainable development. And the idea of the regional centers of expertise, of which we now have roughly 175 of these around the world, is to build this kind of community understanding and community action. Okay? It's important that it's not only about the understanding, but it's the willingness to act and having the skills and the knowledge of meaningful action, of getting things to either to prevent, to ameliorate, or to adapt in the way. So the idea that you're working on of bringing together, yes, the university, the school systems, the non-government organization, the museums, at the top, botanical gardens and so on, the forestry, and engaging all sectors of society and media, bringing people together to talk and to become more informed and to create actions that move forward. Now, the Sustainable Development Goals are the big overarching ones for the world, but it is so important to be thinking about how do we localize, how do we prioritize the actions that we have and work together collectively. And so what you are doing there in RCE Saskatchewan, these being your latest priorities in moving forward, and in seeing the acts and the projects that you've had underway, it is so encouraging and important. So in the words of Morris Strong, Morris Strong was the father, really, of sustainable development, a wonderful Canadian, and who passed away just a couple of years ago. But in his words, every little act counts. Every little act counts. And today we saw many acts, and they certainly were not little. And so I thank you for all that you have been doing there in Saskatchewan under the name of RCE Saskatchewan. And my sincere congratulations to not only all the award winners, but also congratulations to RCE Saskatchewan itself, to the members and the people, Arlie and Kurt and many of the others. I should not mention any one, but many of you have been there from the beginning and continue to pour yourselves into making this a wonderful work. So thank you very much again for this opportunity. Congratulations to all, and Miigwech.
All right, so just in closing, I'd like to personally and on behalf of RCE Saskatchewan congratulate each and every one of your projects, and you have undertaken a great amount of work for the sustainability of our province. So thank you so much. Margaret has, I believe, done an amazing job again this year for an event that has such complexity but such incredible impact. Thank you, Margaret, for your incredible dedication to all of the details that have made this event such a big success. Could we have a further big round of applause for Margaret? I would also like to thank Sky Bistro and Cafe, who you will be enjoying a lunch shortly, and also Graffiti TV for managing so much of our technical communications today. So I will invite Orly Mcpherson to say a few words, and then I'll invite Margaret to say a few words.
First of all, I want to thank everyone. These projects today were just incredible. And goal number 4 is education. And as Canadians, our core value is not to show off, but we're fighting some big things, and we really need to be bold and brave, and we need to share this good work that you're doing. So if Jill and Carissa could just put up their hands, they're part of the communication team. And if I could have the next slide, we really need you to click and share. So we're going to be posting on Twitter and the Facebook pages all about your projects, and we're going to give you glowing remarks, but we can't hoard this knowledge. We have to share this with our communities. So we're asking you to click and share. On another note, we have so much fun at the RCE, and if you're ever looking for to volunteer with us, just reach out onto our new website. We'd love to have you join us. And then the last little thing I'd like to share is networking is so important. Jason, if you can just put your hand up. He would like to meet with anyone from the U of R at lunchtime so they can chat about the great projects. You are amazing. Be bold and share. Thank you.
So just in closing, I'd like to personally and on behalf of RCE Saskatchewan congratulate each and every one of your projects, and you have undertaken a great amount of work for the sustainability of our province. So thank you so much.